Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, May the 3rd, 2020. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible. We're going to do a NOAA Methane update. This is the weekly report on the NOAA data that I'm tracking, and we're going to look at some earthquakes, and that's about it. I've been reporting on the methane on a daily basis from CAMS on my Subscribe Star page, and they don't have new methane up for Sunday, and I've already done the report for Saturday, did that yesterday, so this is the report for today. Here's the 2-meter temperature anomaly map from Climate Reanalyzer for today. We can see the Arctic has cooled down quite a bit. We still have some brown, meaning it's up to about 10 degrees higher than normal here, where you see that boomerang shape. And then we've got a lot of blue, which is lower than normal. And we can see Greenland is in the brown. We can see this blue moving through Canada, and the brown area is now spreading out from the west part of the United States all the way across to the east coast. So overall worldwide, the temperature is up 0.6 degrees C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.9 C. The Arctic is up 0.5 C higher than normal. So that's gone way down this week. The tropics are up 0.6 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.2 C. And the Antarctic is up 1.1 C, higher than normal. Here's the flat view. So here on this eastern side of the map, we can see the brown coming down through Russia and Mongolia and into China, and heavy brown over on eastern China, and then we can see it brown over Spain and Portugal and western Africa, and in the Antarctic we're seeing into the red, which can be like this bright red is about 20 degrees C higher than normal. So that's how the air temperatures, the warm air is dispersed, warm and cold air right now. So here's the NOAA data from yesterday for Saturday the 2nd for the 477/469 millibar reading that I've been tracking since March the 1st of 2019. For the METOP-1 satellite in the morning, the mean or the average was 1,894 parts per billion, and the high reading was 2468. And we have a lot of missing data here. All these white areas are missing data. In the afternoon, the mean was 1889. And the high reading was 2466. On the METOP-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1861 and the high reading was 2303. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1857 and the high reading was 2274. So here's the spreadsheet and the graph that we're working on. For the last few weeks it had gone down exponentially here. On the 18th it had dropped 4 parts per billion that week. On April the 25th it had dropped 3.75 parts per billion. That's why you see this steep line going down here. And now this week, on the 2nd, okay, so I added up all those numbers I just called off and divided by 4, and we come out to an average of 1875.25 parts per billion, which shows a slight decrease since the Saturday before of minus 0.25. So we can see it's kind of a flat line there. So the change from February 29th, which is when it started over, it's been a year since I'd been tracking it. So the change since then is negative 1.25, and the change since March the 1st of 2019 up until this yesterday was 18 parts per billion. So it could be that this downward spiral is kind of flattening out, and we might see it like we did here last year, where it'd go up and down and then it'd kind of stay the same until sometime in mid to late June. Then it started on its climb upwards. And down here is where I'm tracking it on a daily basis, and do include this in my reports. And so here's what we saw this last week, where it on the 27th it actually went up 2 parts per billion, and then it was going down, and then it went up half a part per billion on the 30th, and then it went down, and then the Saturday reading was actually up 1.25 parts per billion from Friday. So that was a pretty good sized increase. So it was still, though, overall a decrease from the week before of 0.25 parts per billion. So there's that. Here's the sulfur dioxide picture from CAMS for today. This is the global view, and we can see it's really calmed down from what we'd seen those couple of months, where we were seeing the massive red clouds covering basically the whole northern hemisphere. And now I'm thinking that was the sulfates falling out of the sky, and it was registering at the it was hanging around a lot at the 500 HPA reading, which is about halfway up. It's about 18,000 feet up from the surface. But we're seeing a lot of greens, and we're seeing blues now coming back, and we're not seeing these massive red clouds anymore. So we're still seeing releases like at the volcanoes like Popocatépetl, and down here along this western coastline of Chile and Argentina, down here in Africa, also up here in Alaska, where it's always constant with the combo plate of the earthquakes and the volcanoes. Also here at Hawaii, and these like Indonesian islands that have volcanoes and earthquakes, all kinds of activity going on all the time. And then here's China, and it's still the highest polluter in the world, so we still see sulfur dioxide gathered over China and over India and the Middle Eastern countries as well. And here it is at 500 HPA, so nothing hugely dramatic to report on there. And here at the Searles Valley Ridgecrest area, in Southern California. I've been tracking these on a daily basis since we had that 7.5 down here last July, and there are 31 here out of 251 worldwide. So it's still shaking down here. It hasn't stopped. And it's been over 300 days since all of that. So those are all of my pictures that I had. Now let's move on over to the earthquake report. It's been quite active in the last 24 hours. We've got 235 here worldwide. We're on USGS for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours. We're seeing a lot of these bigger dots, and the bigger ones are 5 and above, and the smaller dots are in the 4 range. Now this one is a 5.0 at Kotanggung, Indonesia, and so these are bigger dots. A 5.1 near Taiwan. Here's a 5.0 near Magarazaki, Japan. Here's another 5.1 near Ohonua, Tonga. Here's a 5.1 near Easter Island, right on this red line. So we can see that we've got a lot of big ones all around this Pacific Ring of Fire. So it's showing a lot of plate movement. Definitely a lot of plate movement. So let's go into a little more detail here. Here is 4.6 near Punta de Burica, Panama, and it's in the ocean on that red line. Here's a 4.1 at Calama, Chile. And we saw that 5.1 at Easter Island. Now in the southern Pacific, we've got down here off the coast of New Zealand, off the coast of the southern island, right next to the red line there was a 4.3 near Waipawa, New Zealand. Then up here was a 4.9 near Raoul Island, New Zealand. This one was 139 kilometers deep. Here was that 5.1 near Ohonua, Tonga. Here's a 4.6 near Lambasa, Fiji. This one is quite deep, 545 kilometers deep. And when they're deep like that, it causes tectonic plate movement across all the way across the ocean. Here's this 4.6 at Samlaki, Indonesia. Here was the 5.0. Actually, this is not too far from the volcano here. I'm having a brain fart. Krakatau, yeah. Krakatau is in here. So that's a quite large earthquake, a 5.0 there at Kotanggung, Indonesia. And it was 65 kilometers deep. I haven't even looked at the little wave to see if there was a tsunami warning. And there was not. Because this is for Puerto Rico here from, looks like yesterday. No. Alright. Because this is the third that we're on, and those were on the second. Okay, now we're going to move on around. Here's a 4.9 near Dado Village, Guam. 5.1 Taitung City, Taiwan. It's on off the coast in the ocean. So when they're in the water like that, they normally don't do damage. Here's, unless it's huge and then you have a tsunami and landslides and all this stuff. Here's a 5.0 and a 5.9 right next to it. These are south of Japan. And that was in the water. Here we have a cluster in the Kuril Islands. This is Russian territory. Now this is Hokkaido here. So it's just northeast of Hokkaido. A 4.4, a 4.5, and a 4.4. So we've got a lot of activity there. Then over here, a 4.5 in Tajikistan. Here's this 4.2 at Doganyol, Turkey. Here, and we had some big ones here. I had a big one here yesterday, just south of Crete. I think it was a 6.3. So this is activity since then. We've got a 4.2, a 4.9, a 4.2, and a 4.4, all in this area around Crete. So that hasn't stopped. Then here's one. This is a rare earthquake in Kenya, a 4.9 near Lodwar, Kenya. This came in at 12:36 Pacific time this afternoon. That could have been a 5, and then they downgraded it. And considering the infrastructure is probably not very good there, that could have caused damage depending on where it was located. Now, let's look at Hawaii. We've got 12 here today. We've got some out in the ocean. They're mainly clustering at Pahala. These are 2s and 1s. There's a 2.6 is the largest one, it looks like. Now let's go to the Dominican Republic. Here, 4.0, that's in the ocean. So we've got 13 here around Puerto Rico, 13 here today. We've got some 3s and 2s. This 4 looks like that's the biggest one. And then a lot of mainly 3s, it looks like 3.7 and so on. They're still clustering down here on this southern edge. Now up here in the Alaska region, we've got 55 here today, and we've got a 3.0 right in the middle of the Bering Strait. Just smack dab in the middle between Alaska and Russia. That came in at 8:56 this morning. They're calling it near Point Hope, Alaska. That's the reporting station. That might be the biggest earthquake up there today. Let's see. Yeah. And then these are these are 2s over here, 2.5 and higher. So I'll just go through those. 2.5 Gustavos, 2.8 Kodiak, 2.7 Yakataga. There's that 3.0 Point Hope, and a 2.5 Chirikov Island. And so when we turn on all magnitudes, we know that the rest of these are less than 2.5 magnitude. So 55 up there. And, you know, going up through their typical way that they go. Down in the lower 48, we've got 133 here today. And here in Oklahoma, there are 5 here today. We've got a couple of 2.5s, and then the rest are under that. So all in a line there. Here in Utah, we've got 2. We've got a 2.6 at Monty, and we've got a 3.2 right on the border between Utah and Idaho. The reporting station is Malad City, Idaho. And it's not very deep, it's only 1 kilometer depth. So that's good size. And we've only got one coming in here at Chalice, Idaho, a 2.9. And that's the least we've seen since they had that large earthquake up here a few weeks ago. And Yellowstone is quiet. And we've got one up here in northwest Washington, a 2.0 near Seebeck. And then down here on this fulcrum point where the San Andreas fault line meets the Juan de Fuca plate, we've got a 3.4 and a 2.1. Then down here, southwest of Chico, we've got a 2.8 at Durham. Here we've got a 0.9 at Truckee and a 0.4 at Tahoe Vista, which is at Lake Tahoe. We can see some movement. It's peppered around coming down through to southern Nevada. Pretty quiet here today. And so in this view right here, which is southern Nevada and Searles Valley and Mammoth, we have 44. So that's pretty calmed down. But you can see here at Searles Valley and Ridgecrest it's still active. Here's a 2.1 at Ludlow. Okay, now in Southern California, in the LA region, here's a 3.2 at Chatsworth. That looks like that's the biggest one being reported. There are 48 here today. So we've got clusters around through, so that's the biggest one. Let's see what size these other ones are. Here was a 2.6 at Kali Mesa. That was the other large one. So the rest are under that. Look at this one right in the middle of the Salton Sea, 1.7. Now, coming up this San Andreas fault line, here's a 1.9 and a 2.0 at the Pinnacles. Here, next to San Jose is a 1.4 at Los Altos Hills and a 1.2 at Fremont. Here's a 1.5 at Angwin and a 1.4 at Hidden Valley. And then at the geysers, we've got 21 here today, and these are 1s and under. Now look at this one near Chico. It's right next to the river there. I showed it already, but we're just looking at this close up, this 2.8, right next to the river. Anyway, so Oroville is over here to the east, and the Oroville Dam is right there. So I think that's it. So this has calmed down a lot in this Yellowstone area, but we've got lots of movement still. I mean, it hasn't stopped. Just the constant shaking. Did we see this one? 4.4 Ierapetra, Greece. That's a new one that just came in. So that's in the Mediterranean there. And now I'm continuing sharing the prophetic books of the Bible. And tonight we're on Jeremiah chapter 25. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon. The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah, and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23 year, the word of the Lord hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened. And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but ye have not yet hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. They said, Turn ye again now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you, and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, Because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadrezzar the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and an hissing, and perpetual desolations. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon, and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity in the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolations. And I will bring upon that land all my words which I pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah hath prophesied against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also. And I will recompense them according to their deeds, and according to the works of their own hands. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, Take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. And they shall drink and be moved and be mad, because of the sword that I will send among them. Then took I the cup at the Lord's hand, and made all the nations to drink, unto whom the Lord had sent me, to wit Jerusalem, and the cities of Judah, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation, and astonishment, and hissing, and a curse, as it is this day, Pharaoh king of Egypt, and his servants, and his princes, and all his people, and all the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz, and all the kings of the land of the Philistines, and Ashkelon, and Azah, and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom, and Moab, and the king of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyrus, and all the kings of Zidon, and the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea, Dedan, and Tema, and Buz, and all that are in the utmost corners, and all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert, and all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Sheshach shall drink after them. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Drink ye and be drunken, and spew and fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Ye shall certainly drink. For lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name. And should ye be utterly unpunished? Ye shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, nor gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. Howl, ye shepherds, and cry, and wallow yourselves in the ashes, ye principal of the flock, for the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished, and ye shall fall like a pleasant vessel. And the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. A voice of the cry of the shepherds, and an howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard. For the Lord hath spoiled their pasture, and the peaceable habitations are cut down, because of the fierce anger of the Lord. He hath forsaken his covert as the lion, for their land is desolate because of the fierceness of the oppressor, and because of his fierce anger. Jeremiah chapter 25. So I'm praying for everyone. I'm praying for all the lost souls, that anyone who has an ear to hear and an eye to see, that they might open their hearts and let Jesus in and get right with God and Jesus and claim Him as your Lord and Savior, and turn from anything that's not righteous and good before it's too late. So until next time, God bless you, and go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.